Have to have a Dickens, Thackeray, or Collins. It is the Collins episode.
Of course, I've read Wilkie Collins, Dickens Deputy. This is the last one I have on my shelf right now. Poor Miss Finch. Now, this was fantastic. I like Wilkie Collins a lot.
You did say half of it was irrelevant.
Well, the problem with a Wilkie Collins book is you tend to know where it's going a long time before it gets there. So you can be bored in parts, you know. But I love this anyway. I'm going to go ahead immediately and give it its yeah, because it has earned it.
Does it get a second one?
Why not? So...
Because we're doing that now.
She's only called Poor Miss Finch because she's blind, which I thought was a bit patronising. But our main character, Madame Patrolongo...
Speaking of patronising...
So... It's very strange. She has a lot of character traits that are unnecessary. She's like, my husband was a revolutionary. We went around like America trying to start revolutions and, you know, anti-capitalist and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, now I'm working as like a governess in this household. And it's like, well, then none of that's relevant. And once or twice throughout the book, like literally only once or twice, like once in the after the beginning, it only comes up again in the middle and the end. And they're just like, so... I remember that my husband was a really famous, rebel guy. Politically. It doesn't add anything to the story. And I just don't know why they bothered with this extra... Thank you, kind sir. And thank you, sir, kindly. I don't know why they bothered with this weird plot for her. But in any case, she becomes a governess, and she's going to help Miss Finch to...
Poor Miss Finch.
Poor Miss Finch. It's unclear what she needs help with, because she's... fine. Like, the very first day, she takes her by the arms, like, I'll lead you to town. And Miss Finch laughs, and she's like, well, I might be blind, but I've lived here my whole life, and I know how to get to town, and you don't. I will lead you to town. So she's very independent and very capable.
The blinds leading the blinds.
She's very capable of getting around. There is a kid called Jix, and maybe she wants to, like, help out with the kid, I guess. But Jix is also irrelevant in the book. She only serves one plot point. So they're walking along, and they see this man, and they fancy... even though she can't see him, she feels like a good vibe from him. She likes his voice, this kind of thing, and she decides she fancies this guy Oscar. There's a bit of a red herring when we realise, like, oh, maybe the plot point is that Oscar was like a suspect in a murder trial, and he's came here to flee. But then they just immediately are like, nah, but he didn't do it. That's all good. We can just like write that off.
That would have added an extra 200 pages.
Then someone attacks Oscar. Potentially related to that, but I don't think it really matters or is relevant who attacked him. And then Jix comes in with blood on her dress and everything. But the main thing Jix does is point out the blue man. So this is important. Because Oscar's hurt...
Does he play music?
No. Because Oscar's hurt, his brother Nugent comes to stay. And they are twins. Oscar's so badly hurt that he has to take...
Sorry, terrible jokes.
I didn't hear it.
Ted Nugent.
Ah, no. Oscar is so terribly hurt that he has to take silver nitrate to cure him,
yeah,
which disfigures him. And they say, like, this will cause you to have... he looks blue, basically. And the little girl calls him the blue man, and that's why she's relevant. They don't tell Miss Finch that Oscar is disfigured. And I think initially
she cares.
Madame Patrolongo wants to tell her. She's like, look, this will not matter. She can't see you anyway. But the problem is, Miss Finch, even though she's blind, she has a dislike for dark colours. And she's even said, like, what colour's your dress? Purple, take it off, put a white one on. Like, because she's blind, she doesn't like darkness. She associates darkness with a bad thing.
Okay.
It does also include one or two racist references.
Yeah, I believe it.
But she doesn't want to see... You know, they're afraid that she won't want to marry him now that he's got a blue face. So then it's really weird because they're like, well, we get her, marry her, and don't tell her. Or we tell her afterwards, or whatever. Which I think is really not cool. Like, if you think she would dislike this, for whatever reason, morally or otherwise, it feels a bit bad to marry her and then tell her.
I think,
you know,
both of them suck here. Do tell her, but also don't hate things that really do not affect anything.
Well, yeah. So then, of course, the brother comes, and he's identical, and he's also really handsome and, has all the same traits as Oscar, but is not disfigured. And it's just like, oh, you wish you were marrying the handsome one. So they lie, because the kid mentions the blue face, and they lie, and they're like, oh yeah, that's my brother Nugent, he's got his blue face over there. So then they trick her into thinking the one that is Oscar is Nugent, and that it's actually the brother that's sick and disfigured. So most of the book is the idea that they're going to force her to marry the wrong brother, because that's the handsome one. Even though she can tell them apart, because when she touches their hand, she gets like a kind of loving tingle from the one she's in love with, and feels nothing from the other one. And actually says, I hate him.
Oh, wow.
But they gaslight her anyway, and they're like, well, this is the one that is your husband, so off you go. And they're together, about to get married, and she's like, this doesn't feel right. I'm living here with Oscar, but I don't like him anymore. What's going on? I no longer feel any kind of connection with him. Meanwhile, Oscar's like, I better give up all hope, and writes a letter like, farewell, off I go to exile myself to the end, never to see you again, because I'm not handsome like my brother anymore, I guess. Aww. And it's really sad. And the brother becomes really mean, because he's just like, I'm not going to tell anyone, I'm going to force her to marry against her will, and I'm not going to tell, my brother and everything. But the biggest twist is, they can recover her sight.
Oh.
The brother also knows a German oculist, and
of course
he recovers her sight by like cutting some cataracts or something. So now she can see. Then they really have, but they don't. It will make her blind again if they give her like a sudden shock. So they have to continue with the lie about the husband,
because that's how medicine works. Yeah, sure. Okay.
So they have to continue with the lie that like her eyes are too weak and she can't have any like stress right now. So we gotta, for a while at least, just don't do anything to upset her. And then she ends up blind again anyway. Like she loses the sight, but the experiment kind of worked. But then gradually she went blind again because of all the stress, I think.
Just a flowers for Algernon situation.
But it's sad because they are trying to trick her into marrying the wrong one, and she feels that something's not right. And in the end, of course, she gets back with the one that she loves, and she doesn't care that, she's like, yeah, I saw the blue face. It startled me initially, but I got used to it very quickly, so it's fine. And then I love you also, so it's fine. And it's another one of those books that if they just had a conversation in the beginning, like the entire novel could have been avoided, Like before the eye surgery and before she was, unable to be stressed, if they just said to her, like, remember I got attacked and almost killed. Well, the medicine I've taken will disfigure me. But for some reason, they just... And you will never see it anyway because you're blind, They just have to do this whole thing. But I also feel bad for Oscar because at the end, they're like, right, do we try the experiment again? Now, you'll see my blue face, but you know about it now, it's all fine. And she's like, no, my love is associated with my blindness now, and I'm just going to stay blind. And if I'm Oscar, I'm thinking, you really don't want to see my blue face that badly that you're going to stay blind forever not to be with me. It's another like page-turner, Wilkie Collins kind of sensationalist book. I really like it. Of course, I love the setting and the whole Victorian vibes. The dad, Reverend Finch, is like quite obsessed with himself and is always like, I'm going to give my profound opinion on these things, and what if the whole family gather around and listen to me read Shakespeare? And is just always doing those kind of things. Or when they say, well, I'm going to be her husband, I guess I should talk to her about this issue. He's like, you could, but also, as her father, I think that I should be involved. But I've got nothing to actually contribute, But he's just always got to be like, I want my place because I'm important also.
How all these books are, it seems like.
So, I would really recommend this if you like Wilkie Collins. There's not much about it. Like, some of the others have had a lot going on. This one is a bit shorter, I think, than some of them. It's not like 600 pages. It's 420 or something like that. And it just has that one thing they all suffer from, where as soon as you see there's a twin brother, one is becoming disfigured and the girl is blind but might regain her sight.
Yeah.
You can immediately put all those pieces together where it's going to go.
And then it just
takes another 200 pages to get there. There is no twist. Yeah, there's never really a twist.